Your question.
All right, great bye week. Really good to get out on the road recruiting. I left Wednesday, got back Saturday morning. I think really the reaction to seeing Nebraska on the road was significantly different than it had been previously. I think the national TV games, I think the night games, I think the style of play, I think seeing what our players are doing, I think quite honestly, just the media presence we've been able to have. I think, I'm grateful to Pat McAfee for having on every week. I had a couple coaches, they were watching it, and they're like, Coach, when are you going to do your spot? So, but I think mainly it's our players. I think a lot of people talked to us about the blackout. I think we've done a great job of getting kids to come to the games. And so, really cool to see the respect and the excitement around the program. So, obviously excited to go play a excellent Penn State team. Despite being 4-6, outscored their opponents by 93 points this year. So they're doing a great job right now under Coach Smith. Terry was on my first staff. I hired him out of Gateway High School. Was on my first staff at Temple. Have a lot of respect for him. Speaking of coaches, if you guys don't mind, I just two guys I really don't know very well, so I'm embarrassed about that, but I just respect what they've done. First of all, Brian Keller over at Nebraska Wesleyan, after 30 years retiring, and Brandon Cool over at Kearney High, and all the things that he's accomplished. Just want to tip my hat to them. I'd love to be here for 10 years, let alone 30. So it's just impressive when people can do what they've done, and the consistency and the competitive stamina. And I think the one thing that, it really hits you is how many people's lives they've probably affected. So grateful to them, and I think it's great to see that in our state. So with that, I'll start to answer your questions.
Do you have a health report on some of those guys heading into the week?
Yeah. McCullough, full go. Merritt practiced. Anybody else I'm missing? Shavers is out there with his cast. V9's just, he's got different DNA.
Rocco's still out of the cast.
Yeah, Rocco's got a cast, but Rocco's good. So.
Now, what was your reaction that you guys get a night game at Penn State?
They want us to play on national TV, so I love it. Our league is unique in that they have tolerances for certain teams. So certain teams have in the rules that they don't have to play late in the year. We don't have those tolerances, so go play on NBC, national TV. Do I love getting back at 3:00 in the morning and playing Friday at 11? Yeah, we'll go do something tough. But that's now you guys know why I say things like, hey, let's stop fighting as a Husker Nation. Let's all come together because we got bigger fish to fry. So that's, 4 night games this year? 4 road night games this year. So, everyone's going to get a chance to see our defense fly around. I think we're in the top in a lot of defensive categories. I think we're second in completion percentage. You're going to get to see the O-line, Emmett, and versus a great Penn State defense. And will put us under a little duress. Okay, but we'll be good.
What is that challenge like, particularly in-state offense versus your defense? They turned it up in the running game against Michigan State. How's that? How do you size all that?
Well, the back. I mean, they've got one of the best offensive lines you'll see in the back. Oh, they have 2 backs, but 13, took over that game. 10 took over the game against Indiana to get them back in the game, right? So, I mean, I think they've got great run schemes. They run all the different run schemes. I think last game was 50 runs, 13 passes. Yeah, no, that's exactly that. I showed it to our team yesterday. I'm like, hey, guys, 50 runs. Now, to be fair, some of those runs were quarterback dropping back and then running the ball, right? The last drive, I think Michigan State had the ball with 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 14:39. And it was 3rd and 30. They threw a screen. They punted the ball. Penn State goes down and scores, and Indiana gets the ball back with 4:38. So they took 10 minutes off the clock. Not a ball in the air. Other than a toss. Now they dropped back a couple times, and then the quarterback did a great job running. So, we are one of the top pass defenses in the country. We are one of the top, all these different things. But we struggle versus the run, and they are going to come out and run the football. So I look at it as what a wonderful opportunity for our guys to go out there and conquer things that have bothered them. And so we can defend the run. They're just very good at it too. So a lot of credit to them. They had 100 and some yards through 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, Penn State went out and I think they had 130 yards in the fourth quarter. So it'll come down to our ability late in the game to defend the run. And I think we start to talk about stopping the run. That takes everybody. It takes your defense. Also takes your offense scoring points. They're a top 25 defense. They're giving up 316 yards per game. So it'll be a great challenge all around.
I know this week isn't about you, but what are your emotions going back to your alma mater?
I don't have very many at all, to be honest with you. I spoke earlier to you guys about how much I love my time there, but it's just different for me, Sam, because I've been back so many times. The only things I feel, to be quite honest, was like my grandfather had season tickets at Penn State, and so he's no longer living, right? My grandmother's no longer living, so just the people that poured into me and meant a lot to me in my life, just they won't be there for this. I have a great picture when we beat Penn State at Temple in 2015. I have a great picture of my uncle Chuck Splonsky, who he's in the Pennsylvania High School Coaches Hall of Fame, runs up and he's getting ready to hug me, and he's no longer living, passed away during COVID. So I'll think a lot about probably people that would have been at that game that aren't here. But outside of it, I have a lot of respect for Terry. I have a lot of respect for their team. But I want this week to be 100% about our players. I want our guys to play their best football game, and so that's really all I feel.
Did you catch the coaching bug when you were playing there, or did it happen before?
No, at 5 years old, I wanted to be the head coach in college. I love college football. I grew up watching it. So like I said, my dad was a coach. My uncle was a high school coach. My cousin Craig took Bishop Carroll to the state championship game in Pennsylvania. So I was growing up in New York City, and I would leave and go to Pennsylvania and watch my uncle coach when I was in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So I've wanted to coach really my whole life. Julie always kind of says how lucky I am that even when I went to college, I studied political science because it's the first class I got an A in. I did educational psychology afterwards because I thought that would apply to coaching. I've always just wanted to be a college football coach. I went to the NFL. Obviously, it was never my dream. My dream's always been to be a college football coach.
So was there when you got there and Joe Paterno's there, was there an awe of that? Players who used to play for Coach Osborne would describe it that way the first time they were in there.
Yeah, I was not recruited at all by anybody except for maybe some Division III schools and a few Division II schools. So I walked on at Penn State, and then I got hurt. I had a bad shoulder, and so I failed the physical. So I actually had to go be a student equipment manager. And two of the best men I ever met in my life were, Tim Shope and Brad Caldwell, Spider Caldwell, who Spider's still there. They were the equipment managers. And after a couple weeks, I said, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go try to rehab and come back in the spring. And eventually came back, and the next year they said, hey, you can be on the team. We'll do a favor to you, but you have to be the scout team center. And I was literally at 230 pounds of scout team center the entire year. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm finding a way to get on the field. So But I did all of it to be a coach. In terms of Coach Paterno, he didn't speak to us very often. He knew how to pick his spots, but when he spoke, the man's charisma and his ability to enchant and capture a room was amazing. And when I look at kind of my beliefs in coaching, I think the core thing that Coach Paterno did, besides he truly made you had to go to class, you had to get an education, cared about who you were as a person. The core value that I learned from him was he held his best players the most accountable. And as I got into college football, I saw the opposite. I saw, hey, if you make plays, you can do whatever you want. Not there. You're sitting there on a bowl trip and you see them send a starter home because they're late, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be late. So I just think that's kind of carried over for me, and hopefully I uphold that ethos.
Coach, game 2 with TJ Lateef, what are your expectations for him, and where would you like to see him make the biggest jump?
I just want him to go play. They've got a ferocious pass rush. Number 33 is, besides having 5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for loss, he's also got 3 block punts. He is just fantastic, and it's not just him, right? They've got good players up and down the defensive line, all 3 levels. So TJ's there's gonna be times where there's gonna be pressure, and he's gonna have to reverse out and go make a play and run. And I want him to play free. I want him to go out there and let it rip. If he starts. Sometimes the first game, the second game you start to don't overthink too much. Just go out there and play through the good plays and play through the bad plays, and just take one snap at a time. use to me he's a triple threat. Use your brain, get us in the right play, use your arm, make the right throws, and then use your legs. I think those are the things. The biggest probably challenge is just the crowd noise. I mean, it's one of the loudest places I've ever been, and so do you use the cadence? Do you clap? Do you go silent cadence? How do you do those things? And what is he comfortable with? But yeah, I want to see him play, man. This is a great opportunity for TJ, and I don't want him to play it close to the vest. I don't want our coaches to play it close to the vest. Like we got to go play and see what happens.
Do you pump in crowd noise in preparation for that and see how he deals with all that stuff?
Yeah, and we do that really for most away games. I mean, even like in walkthroughs. I mean, we're all using mechanics. So. We obviously are blessed here with amazing facilities. When I was at Temple, we'd go to Penn State. We'd have the pickup truck driving behind the offensive huddle with speakers, blasting music. So here we can, here we have state of the art sound system, and so we can be inside, we can be outside, and have that all.
When they've been at home, they've hung with Oregon, they've hung with Indiana. Is it just that environment, or have you noticed anything on tape a difference in how they play at home?
I can't speak too much to them. I mean, I think they've had a bunch of close games. This is the preseason 1 or 2 team in the country. I mean, like I said, they're outscoring teams by 93 points. They're in the top 25 on defense. They're running the football at a high level. Obviously, they lost their quarterback. The quarterback's come in. He's doing a really nice job for them. So, I mean, and the way they play, I mean, when you run the football and take shots and play great defense, the games are going to be close, and it's whoever makes more plays in the fourth quarter. So, but yeah, I mean, I think most teams play a little bit better at home, and obviously they like us have a great, crowd. Like we get to see what it feels like when the other team false starts on 3rd and 9 and we're all clapping. They've got the same thing. So, we'll just have to go out there and have some poise in the noise and make sure that we're having fun while we play.
You already kind of referred to this, but do you think the record is misleading based on the difficulty of the schedule that they played, this unbalanced nature of Big Ten schedules, and how it might affect one team?
I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, I think so much goes into Big Ten schedules. I mean, it's like, there's all those metrics out there, like who has to travel the most, who has the most. Like some teams have more days off before games than other teams. I mean, it's just part of being in the league, right? So it's not a complaint. I don't want any pundits out there taking shots at me. I'm not saying. I'm just saying, like, it's really hard in an 18-team league, right? Like even the NFL, you think about the National Football League, like you have a 4-team division, and you play those teams twice, and they're usually all within, except for maybe the NFC East, you're all kind of within traveling of each other. So I just think there's a lot of uniqueness to it, but I think they're an excellent, excellent football team. And I think, Terry's obviously done a great job of, uniting them and getting them. They had the Iowa game down to the very wire, right? And then a young man makes a great run to win the game. They had Indiana, and that was just a classic 2-minute drive, really for the ages, for Indiana. And then this was a close game with 14 minutes left, and really with 5 minutes left. So. Yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question, Sam. I'm sorry. I just think at the end of the day they're a really good team. So to your point, yeah, it's misleading a little bit. How it relates to everyone else in the league, it's hard to say.
This last week was quite a week for Emmett on the publicity front, just getting his name out there on the national level. What did you see from him when you guys got back on Sunday and spending time around him about the way he's handled his business? Yeah,
I've loved it. I've loved the way he's done it. I've loved the way he's. Even when I see him at the basketball game, he's got some of his friends and some guys from other sports, but he's got, Malcolm right there with him too. And, everyone wants that, but you have to go earn it, right? And so to me, he's earned it, and he consistently talks about, like, hey, I got to thank my O-line. I got to thank my receivers. I got to thank my tight ends. So he consistently does all those things. He walked back into the building. I think I saw him on Wednesday morning, okay? And I think was the basketball game Tuesday night? Mike, okay, great, thank you. And I said to him, I said, hey, right back to work. And he was like, yeah, he's not bringing that into the building, right? One thing about Emmett is he's one of the most humble people you'll ever be around. And so I think that makes it good. You want all of the guys, when you're having someone have that type of success, to say, I'm so happy for him. But also, I realize it took a lot of us to do it, but I'm happy for him, even if it's at the expense of me, even if I'm not getting carries because he's getting carries, or even if I'm not getting touches because he's getting touches. That's what makes a great team. What's important to me in terms of the long-term vision is that, hey, you can be here at Nebraska and you can lead the nation in rushing. You can be on the Heisman watch list. You can come out of nowhere. And so many of our players, at the end of this year, I want them to look to next year and say, hey, I want to have that type of a breakout season. I want to do these things. I mean, even in our return games, I think we're one of 4 teams to be in the top 25 or whatever in both returns. Is that correct? So Jacory, we just haven't gotten a ton of great punts for him to return, but he's one of the best punt returners in the country. Kenneth hasn't gotten a kick in a while, but he's one of the best kick returners. So the national accolades and national awards, all those different things, I think are great, and they send a great message in recruiting, like I'm trying to send right now in recruiting. Like, hey, come here and good things can happen to you.
Last time he was up here, John Butler mentioned the Sunday practice after the USC loss, walking off of Phil Snow, and he was like, these guys are really flying around. They're giving us everything they have. Have you seen this team take a step in their juice that they bring in November, and how hard is it to keep that focus through the grind of the season?
I'm one of those guys who after a practice I don't tells them about it. I'm not one of those coaches who's like, hey, great job, everybody. I have not had a day yet this year that I can think of that I walked off disappointed in our practice and our preparation. There are some days where execution hasn't been as good, and those things have sometimes shown up in the game. But I feel like what they have done is they have attacked our process every week and just try to get a little bit better at the process. And you see guys, playing their best football. So, the job of the head coach is to every week get everyone to start back over, right? Because nothing carries forward. If you lose a game, it doesn't mean you're going to lose the next game. And if you win a game, it doesn't mean you're going to win the next game. I think if we all watch college football this past week, no one knows what's going to happen. It's just like I said, the parity that I've talked about and all those different things have affected college football more than anything else. So I think the goal is to get the guys every week to come back out and starting on that Sunday practice. Hey, this is a new week. Let's attack this week. You've heard us talk about the mission themes, which I don't even know if anyone even pays attention to them, but it's just sort of another subconscious, this week, let's just focus on this, beating this team, playing our best this week. And a lot of credit. And I think that credit goes to the players. It goes to the captains. It goes to the leaders that they just show back up week after week attacking. And I think we make a lot of decisions about teams early in the season. We make a lot of decisions about teams in the middle of the season, but you got to win now. You know what I'm saying? Texas and Georgia play, and that determines a lot for those teams, right? So it's who wins now is really, really, really hard. And going back to Sam's question about the Big Ten, think about what some teams have an FCS team this week. We have 2 big-time Big Ten teams left, and how we play will affect how we feel about our season. And so just show up every week and just focus on that week, and I think our players do a great job of that.
Elaborate a little bit on those 2 running backs. Most everybody's seen it, but if you hadn't seen them, what would you say about it?
They're great. Yeah, they got long speed. They can catch the ball. They pick up blitzes. They can run downhill. They can run outside. They can play them both together. They've been great since they were freshmen. And, I can't minimize how good their offensive line is. Love the center. He's really, really a good player. And they've at their best, they find a way to run the football. And but they're really talented players.
With Lateef kind of being thrust into this role, how do you evaluate the quarterback depth in a guy like Jalen Gramstad, who's been around so much college football, helping a freshman in a big moment this season?
Yeah, I think last week was a really good week for us to get Jalen a bunch of reps, because he's one play away from playing. Really, really pleased with Marcos. He's come a long, long, long way, and he got a bunch of reps. So, to me, it takes all of us. It takes every single guy. And part of it is hey, what's my level of preparation like? What's my performance like? And also just the execution of it. Even a week like this where you're going to have to try to hear a play call with that sound right through a headset and then go out there and communicate in the huddle. Those 2 things are a challenge in and of themselves. And so, you have to be ready. Dylan last year went to Ohio State and played in a similar environment and played a great game. And we had a chance to win it. TJ, got thrust into the game against USC. We had a chance to win it. We went out to UCLA. We won the football game. he's going to be more than ready. I'm really convinced and believe in him, and I think his humility and work ethic will always shine through. And I'll say the same thing about Jalen. Jalen Gramstad's just one of those guys, when you watch him walk through the facility, like he just kind of fist bumps everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't just talk to his circle of guys. He kind of just knows everybody. Like, I'm going to try to hire him. I can tell you that. Like, I'm going to try to hire him. I'm not going to pay him a lot, but I'm going to try to hire him at some point, because he just has that gift, right? And coaching is way more about connection than anything else, at least at the college level. And I think Jalen's just a born natural coach, and those guys, he and Derek Branch, to me, are two guys that I look at. Now, Derek's going to go make a ton of money in business, I think, but they would be great coaches, because they positively affect everything that's happening in the locker room all the time.
Speaking of Dylan, how is he in this spot that he's never been in before, where he's sitting and watching?
You'd have to ask him. I mean, I can't imagine. I just keep encouraging him. I'm like, hey, journal, bro. Like, just write down everything. Write down. I think it's one of the best things men can do, is to just write down every day how they're feeling, what they're going through, what they've learned in the good times and in the bad. I think I shared with you guys, or maybe not, shared with someone else. Like, when I told the team I was staying, I read off like the journal from the day I got fired in Carolina, what I thought was my darkest moment, and just the way I felt. And so, you can't be the competitor that he is and not have some tough days. At the same time, it's an unbelievable opportunity for him to see football from another standpoint, right? Like, I know my first year coaching, I was like, gosh, if I'd have done this, I might have been a little bit better player, because you see things not just from like, oh my gosh, I have to get this executed, but from a 50,000-foot view. But yeah, I mean, he's not able to walk yet. Obviously, he's still on the scooter. He's in there for treatment. So those things all have to take a toll on you and have to be difficult. We see them from so many of our guys. I see Wood, I see Teddy Prochazka, I see all these guys, and the challenge that is. But it does make you who you someday want to be. And I think all of us would agree that we all are where we are because of the things we've been through, both good and bad. And so Dylan, my hope is that he'll make this into the best thing that ever happened to him. And that's why I keep encouraging him, hey, like, write it down. Hey, hey, just own it and go through it, and keep saying to yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to learn from this? And if he does that, he'll be right back where he wants to be.
Will he travel this week for you guys, Dylan?
I don't know that he can travel. Yeah, just physically.
You mentioned Teddy. In a meaningful moment that you had with him when he got hurt, or right after he got hurt. What are your thoughts about him, knowing that he's not going to play again here, and he's still with you, traveled to USC, and what just on him in general?
Yeah, no, he came to me. I hope he's okay with me sharing this. I think he would be. I think he wants to look into a future like working with student athletes, like in player development or something like that. And I think he'd be amazing at it. I think he'd be great at it. He's someone that is selflessly always trying to give to others. He's someone that's always trying to pour into others, and he's just literally one of the most remarkable young men I've ever coached. And so, I'd love to have him. No, I can't have every former player, but I'd love to have him. I'd love to find a way to get him started, because I think he'll be great. I think he'll be absolutely great. And, he wanted to be, not just even for like the home game. I want to stay at the hotel. A lot of guys want to go, they don't want to stay at the hotel. He wants to stay at the hotel. He wanted to travel with us. Elliott Brown did that for us last year. Elliott Brown tore his ACL. And then, or I forget what year it was. I'm getting old. Tore his ACL, and then literally delayed surgery so he could stand on the sideline and signal for us. And then you wonder why he's having all the success he's having now, right? Working with the governor and social media. I follow him on social media to see what his 4 a.m. workout every day. I mean, because he's someone I respect and I trust. So there's a lot of guys like that, but Teddy's certainly a special one.
Is there anything that you're a coach, that can see in a freshman quarterback that you look for readiness? You see he's ready for this challenge. Are there traits that you see?
You're talking about for this game?
Yeah, and kind of any game, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember now. I mean, I went to Temple and I started PJ Walker as a freshman. I went to Baylor. I started Charlie Brewer as a freshman. I came here. We didn't start freshman the first year, and then I played Dylan obviously last year as a freshman, and now TJ's playing as a freshman. And so, to me, it's like can I prepare, and then can I handle the moment? Like, is the moment going to be too big for me? And I think I felt that way about all 4 of those guys, that no, the moment was never going to be too big for them. Like when you enter the arena, you are the one that everyone's looking to. No one's looking to you and saying, well, he's a freshman. They're looking to you and saying he's the quarterback. And so you better enter it with confidence. You better enter it with belief. And I think people are always waiting to see when something goes wrong, hey, how are you going to handle it? How are you going to respond? And we all want to follow somebody that when things go wrong doesn't blame others. We all want to follow someone when things go wrong, has a positive attitude, and just comes right back to work. And so going back even to the question about after USC that Sunday, how they came back to practice, or really any week this year, to me, I could say all I want to the team. They're not. I mean, they're looking at the leaders and saying to themselves, how are they responding? So we'll go to Penn State this week, and we want to be the best team that we can be. And a team obviously has to execute together, but a team also has to stand. I mean, we're going to be on that sideline. I'm sure there'll be lots of red there, but we're going to be standing on that sideline. It's going to be just us, right, kind of together, huddled together. And you better feel like, every single guy there would sacrifice and do anything for you. And while TJ doesn't have to be like a vocal leader, he's our quarterback, and your quarterback is your leader. And so I just see the way he comes into the building. I see the way that he practices. And I've seen it since day one. He takes accountability for everything, good and bad, and I think players love that. So he'll be ready. I'm convinced he'll be ready. And it doesn't mean this isn't a challenge. This is a top 25 defense. But he's not playing by himself. It's going to take all the other guys, and it's going to take us on defense and special teams. And I think our team will be committed to being a team on Saturday, and that's what it takes.
Back to recruiting for a second. How large do you think this class can get? Or how large do you want it to get? Is it 10 right now?
I would maybe take 1 or 2 more guys. Yeah.
That's just the numbers crunch.
Yeah, and just like a plan. You know what I mean? Like we came in early on and felt like we had to flip over everything. So now we've got a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and now we can be very select in 26, get difference makers. And I think the guys we have committed, the guys we're trying to get are difference makers. And then we'll see the whole portal world in January. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll continue to build on 27 and 28s. Thank you.